Imagine this. You're heading to work, already a bit behind schedule. Then suddenly, that little orange light pops up on your dashboard, the check engine light. Instantly, your stomach drops. You already know what it means. Fixing it now might cost around $300. Not ideal, but manageable, if you had it. But you check your account, and reality hits. You've got $42 to last until payday. So what do? You ignore it. You turn up the music to drown out the strange noise. You tell yourself it'll be fine. You just need to get through the week. But weeks turn into months, and one day the car gives out completely. On the highway. Now you need a tow. That's $200. The original issue? It's gotten worse. Now it's a $2,000 repair. And because you missed work, you lose income too. That $300 problem you couldn't afford? It just turned into a $2,500 disaster. That's not just bad luck. That's a pattern. There's a real, measurable cost to not having money, and most people are living inside it without realizing. We're often told that money problems come down to discipline. Stop spending, cut out small luxuries, be more responsible. But that advice misses something deeper. There's a concept called the boots theory. It comes from a fictional character, but it explains real life better than most financial advice. Here's the idea. A wealthy person buys a $50 pair of boots that last 10 years. A broke person can only afford a $10 pair, but it falls apart every year. So over a decade, the poor person spends $100. The rich person spends $50. And somehow, the person with less money ends up paying more. That's the hidden equation. Look around. This isn't just about boots. Take something simple, like household supplies. If you've got extra cash, you buy in bulk. Lower cost per unit, fewer trips, less stress. If you don't, you buy the smallest option you can afford. And per item, it's way more expensive. Same product, same usage, but one person pays 2 or 3 times more just because they couldn't afford the upfront cost. That's what I'd call the poverty premium. Now let's talk about banks. If you've got a comfortable balance, everything works in your favor. No fees, maybe some perks, maybe even interest. But if your account is low and a payment goes through unexpectedly, you get hit with an overdraft fee. You were short by a few dollars, and now you're paying a fee many times that amount. Think about that. You effectively borrowed a tiny amount for a short time and paid an outrageous price for it. It's a system where the less you have, the more you're penalized. And it's not just about money, it's about mental bandwidth. When you're constantly worried about bills, rent, or getting through the week, your brain is under pressure. You're not thinking long-term, you're thinking survival. That pressure makes it harder to plan, to compare options, to make the best decision. So sometimes you choose what's quick, not what's optimal. Not because you don't know better, but because you don't have the space to think it through. Let's zoom out even more. Transportation, for example. If you have savings and decent credit, you can buy something reliable, maybe even at a low interest rate. If you don't, you might end up paying far more for something less reliable with high interest attached. And if that breaks down, you're stuck paying for something that isn't even working anymore. It becomes a loop. You pay more because you have less, and because you have less, you keep paying more. Housing works the same way. Renting often costs more monthly than owning, but buying requires a large upfront payment. So if most of your income is going to rent, saving for that upfront cost becomes almost impossible. You end up paying continuously for something you'll never own, while someone else builds equity from it. There's also a hidden cost people rarely talk about: time. If you don't have access to certain conveniences, everyday tasks take longer. Getting groceries, doing laundry, commuting, everything requires more effort, more coordination, more time. And time isn't free. Time is energy. Time is opportunity. Time is income potential. So when you lose time, you're not just losing hours, you're losing possibilities. So what do you actually do with all this? Because yes, it can feel overwhelming, but understanding the system changes how you play the game. Instead of focusing only on earning more or investing, the first step is reducing these hidden penalties. If you're paying high interest on debt, eliminating that is one of the best returns you can get. If a small repair today prevents a huge expense later, that's not spending, it's protection. The goal at the beginning isn't growth, it's stability. And this is where one concept becomes powerful: the buffer. Having even a small amount set aside changes everything. It turns emergencies into inconveniences. It gives you options. It lets you make decisions based on logic, not panic. That first bit of savings is difficult to build, but it's what breaks the cycle. From there, it becomes about thinking differently. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this right now?" start asking, "What will this cost me over time?" Sometimes the cheaper option today is the most expensive choice long term. If there's one practical step you can take, it's this: look closely at where you're losing money because of your situation. Not careless spending, but structural costs. Find the biggest one, focus on it, and do what you can to eliminate it, even if it takes effort in the short term. Because every one of those fixed problems is something you won't have to pay for again. This system isn't perfectly fair. Starting from zero is harder than people admit. But once you see the pattern, you stop blaming yourself and start targeting the actual problem. You're not just trying to make more money, you're trying to stop money from slipping away in ways you didn't even notice before. And step by step, decision by decision, you move out of that cycle. If this made you think differently about money, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. Let's keep learning, keep improving, and keep getting smarter with how we move.